another thing we do, Bob, when we read off deck lists, especially in a new format like this, we don't read every single list. Like, I'm not going to read Esper Dragons twice.
Yeah.
As we're going through, we'll just go down, click on Esper Dragon, see if there's any cards that are different from the previous list that we read, and then carry on. Because we've tended to focus on deck lists so much that we've talked about like a single event for over an hour.
Give me, Jason. I'm sorry, you blinked out. Can you give me that again? You're good now. I had to check something. You
Okay.
said you don't read over every single card or every single deck list.
What we do is, like, if it's a repeat deck, like you see there's 2 Esper Dragons in the top 8, that when we get to the next one in 7th place, we'll just say Esper Dragons. We'll just scan it really quick to see if there's any major differences, but we're not going to, like, sit there and talk through every single card of every single list. You know, if there's like 5 abs and aggros, we don't go into each one and talk about them all. We just look for any like huge differences.
Yeah, we saved that for the end of the format because it's all abs and aggro at that point.
Yeah.
And did not put up good numbers.
Yeah. I don't know. There were a lot in the top 60.
Yeah, I don't know. It's such a small sample size. I don't know whether these percentages really mean a damn thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like, from what I saw, the testing groups is what made it. Because obviously, you know, like so many pros did so well that they all had something in mind. And like the Bring to Light deck, I saw 3 to 4 people running it that were on coverage, so there was probably a lot of people running it during the course of the day. There were only 400 plus people.
Yeah, that was surprising. Like, I was expecting to see a lot more people for that.
Well, it is the first day out of the gate with Standard. You got to imagine there's some people who aren't going to fly far because they don't know what what to play and those who will travel far. Yeah, those who would travel far would rather just save themselves the plane ticket because it's like I don't even know what this format's going to look like now.
That's what I mean. Like, let's see.
Well, the guy who won it had 3 cards in his 75 from the new set. 3.
You know, this reminds me of another show you guys did when Rotation came in, where a new set came out, Cons of Tarkir, and what was it that won one of the first events you guys did? I forget. No. Oh, that's right, Blue White Heroic.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, at least that's gone. So I guess a Tarkir Red is the new Blue White Heroic.
Yeah.
But, all right.
All right, we're live. We already got 5 people in the.
Well, I'm one of them, so.
Yeah, and it only shows Mr. Roscom here. Like, it shows me, one of the bots, and Mr. Roscom, and then it says 5 people, so I never get that.
Yeah. All right. Let me actually turn on the recording because I have not been recording this whole time.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, we need to do our 20 seconds. There it goes. It went down to 3. Maybe that was from the last time I was streaming. I don't know.
Could be. Okay, so yes, give me about 30 seconds of silence this time because I feel like I need a longer sample. So we'll do that starting now. All right, that's good.
You know you're on like a 10-second delay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Burry NG says loud noises. That is on my end, so I will adjust that audio.
Stop putting your kids in the basement when you record. It's totally inhumane.
You put the lotion on the skin.
Or else it gets the hose again.
Yeah.
Right, so
I think a lot of it's coming from Chad, honestly.
Yeah,
your microphone is so sensitive.
It is. And I guess all right, I'm going to put the mic boost down. All right, Burry, let me know how that goes. Thanks, man. All right, I'm ready.
All right, let me just verify we are indeed recording, which it appears that we are. Okay, any questions about what we're doing? So we're just going Star City, local decks. We'll talk some finance, what we're doing. Call it good.
Yeah.
Okie doke.
Yeah, it sounds like it's gonna be short, but it's gonna be freaking.
Oh no, yeah, we're gonna spend so much time on these lists, I'm sure.
It's gonna be a half hour, guys. We got this. It's good.
Yeah,
It's good.
okay.
It's just-
Okay, so with that, give me another 20 seconds of silence, and we shall begin. And we're back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Higher Standards Podcast. This is episode 43. With me each and every week is Chad.
What's up?
And Renee. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, I'll leave. No problem.
Yeah.
I get it. Nope. No. It's fine. I understand.
Now, with us this week, once again, is local game store owner, good friend, swell dude, Bob Healy. How you doing, Bob?
I'm good. I'm worse than the plague. You can't get rid of me.
I know, right? That's not necessarily a bad thing in this case.
I think you used the same cue last week, actually.
Really?
In the flag cue.
All right, guys. Big week this week. Battle for Zendikar is officially out. We have a new standard rotation. The Theros block and M15 are gone.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna throw in some cheer sound effects right there, I think. And we have our first major standard tournament, the Star City Open in Indianapolis. And
All right.
well, I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same, right, guys?
Let's get
Why don't
into
you
the
launch
tournament.
right into it?
Yeah, all right. So, Chad, first place. What do we got?
First place was by Brian DeMars with Atarka Red. So yes, Red is first place again. in the
Yay.
standard format. Who knew?
It's got
Yeah.
green in it.
Yeah. So he's running 17 creatures, 4 Abbot of Carol Keep, 2 Lightning Berserker, 1 McKindy Slide Runner. All right, I'm going to have to get all these names down again.
Yeah.
4 Monastery Swift Spear, 2 Chandra Fire of Kaladesh, 4 Zergo Bellstriker, 21 lands in the red-green variety. He's running 2 Cinderglade, and that's it out of the new stuff.
Yeah, a lot of fetch lands. He's running 10 total fetch lands, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting land base. 22 spells, 4 Atarka's Command, 3 Become Immense, 3 Teamer Battle Rage, 4 Titan Strength, 4 Wild's Last, and 4 Dragon Fodder. In the board, he's running 4 Hangerback Walker, why aren't they in the main? 2 Goblin Heel Cutter, 2 Thunderbreak Regent, 2 Fiery Impulse, 3 Arc Lightning, and 2 Roast.
And I would just like to point out that he had a whopping 3 cards from Battle for Zendikar. That is the 1 McKindy Slide Runner, which is, if you don't know, it's a 2/1 trample with landfall, gives him +1/+1 until end of turn. And then just 2 lands, 2 Cinderglades. And that's it.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And I got to say, I like the choice of the 3 Become Immense.
Yeah, well, he's running 10 fetch lands. I mean, that's all there to fuel Delve.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
mean-
10 fetch lands for his 1 of Slide Runner.
Yep.
That's pretty funny.
So-
But
How many lands can we get in one turn?
You can get 2.
4? It's only
4?
2?
Well, I mean, it depends on how you play them. If you play
Yeah.
your fetches and you just keep them on the board, I mean, you could pop 5 in a turn. I mean, you know.
So what I'm thinking is if he, let's say let's go turn 3 or 4. He has down, it's going to have to be turn 3 at least, because he's got to get down the McKindy Slide Runner, and you obviously want to activate landfall as much as you can, and for his Atarka's Command, so he can hit down a fetch land on turn 3, and then fetch something up. That's 2 triggers. Then Atarka's Command for another fetch land out of his hand,
Right.
and then another trigger off of that.
well, I think you're looking a little too deep into this because
I mean,
this
I'm just going Magical Christmas Land.
yeah, the Slide Runner is a one of, and it's a questionable one of. I think it's probably just in there to even out his curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's putting much effort into maximizing the size of the Slide Runner as opposed to just throwing it out there.
I mean, it's a fine 2-drop. You have to remember that Abbott is not a card you want to play on turn 2 typically.
Sure.
You know, and that if you're doing everything right. Zergo, Zergo could be a turn 2 play, but if you've got more than one of them in your hand, it's just something else to get out there that you can play out there. And remember this. If anybody watched coverage on this deck operated on 2 lands for the first couple of turns on some of its bigger matches and did just fine. So,
yeah, he fought. I watched pretty much all of the coverage today, and he was on at least a few times, and he was fighting through siege rhinos. He was fighting through everything, and didn't seem to have trouble in any matchup really. And this deck looked really, really strong. I don't know if I like this. I'm hoping this is just a week one, let's play it safe, just jam red, just like they did in the Pro Tour last year.
So is it,
or last season.
I don't like it, or you don't want to play against it?
I don't want to play against it. I mean, it's a fine strategy. It's been a strategy since the beginning of Magic. But, yeah, it almost looks too good. Temur Battle Rage. Such a good card. Oh, my God.
It's finally found its time in the sun.
Yeah, and the fact that it also gives them... trample. It gives them trample,
yep.
Right? If you have
Ferocious. Double strike and trample with a ferocious trigger, which is very easy to do in this deck.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. That's just that's too good. And then Atarka's Command is just a house.
I like that Atarka's Command sides up with his Hangerback Walkers late game.
This deck very, very often plays very much honestly like Legacy Infect, which I play a lot of actually. Because what you found Mars doing a lot was, attacking with 2 or 3 creatures into unprofitable attacks, but one would get through and then he just blow his hand. He would have like 4 man out. He would drop an Atarka's Command, drop on top of a Titan Strength, on top of a, and then delve out the rest for a Become Immense, and I mean just slam in for the last 11 points he needed off the back of one creature. I mean, it's really scary if you're playing against it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So with that,
turn I die.
Yeah, that's basically it. It's like every turn, it's like, am I dead? Am I dead? So let's move on because we could. I mean, I don't even want to talk about a deck that only has 3 new cards. So, second place, what we got?
In second place, we have Michael Majors playing Green-White Megamorph. So, slightly different than the normal Green-White Megamorph list that we saw pre-rotation. 4 Hangerback Walkers, 4 Death Mist Raptors, 4 Den Protectors. Those are all normal. Yep. 2 Hidden Dragon Slayers, which have popped up in this list before. 4 Warden of the First Tree. 3 Wingmate Rock, which I think in the old Green-White Megamorph list you didn't see a lot of.
No.
3 Nissa the Vastwood Seer. So for Gideon, ally of Zendikar, he saw a ton of play in every deck that could play him this weekend. Yep. So he's got 7 spells, he's got 4 Dromoka's Command, and 3 Valorous Stance. Interestingly enough, what is not in this main deck is anyone?
Mastery of the Unseen.
No Mastery of the Unseen in the main deck. He's got 1 in the side. So the lands, he's got 25 lands of the green-white variety. He is playing 1 Blighted Step, so that's the new Battle for Zendikar land uncommon. That 3 and a white, sack it, and you gain 2 life for each creature you control. He's playing 3 Canopy Vistas, 4 Windswept Heath, 4 Wooded Foothills, 3 Flood. It's just a lot of fetch lands to fetch up his stuff.
Sure.
So in his sideboard, he's running 3 Arishan Clerics, no surprise there. 2 Whisperwoods, which I heard in his deck tech, basically he jammed them in there last minute because he couldn't think of a better card to fill out the sideboard. And that's a pretty good one.
Yeah, it's not a bad card.
3 Evolutionary Leap, which if you watched any of the coverage, you'll see getting a lot of play against control. Basically, to sacrifice your own creature and go find another one when they take yours out.
Yeah. It gets around removal, essentially.
Yep. 1 Mastery of the Unseen, 2 Silk Wraps for that early removal, 1 Radiant Purge, 1 Valorous Stance, and then 2 Tragic Arrogance for your really nice board wipe. Yep. So deck put up good numbers. Played more of like a mid-rangey sort of deck from what I saw.
Yeah. Okay. It can have aggro style opening hands, but for the most part, it's more mid-range-ish.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of a fairly straightforward, like just 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, and then start flipping stuff up deck. That it got there though. Gideon would very often. Man, he would very often just he would very often just develop his board and just drop his Gideon and sack him for the emblem.
Yeah.
Just
why not? Yeah.
minus. Yeah. I mean, that emblem. And I'm sure we'll talk about it later. Having played with that card, that emblem's so huge, you just can't interact with it. It just sticks around, and it makes life difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and speaking of Gideon, I know a lot of people were, for the most part, impressed with him, but some people jammed him just for the sake of jamming him, and after the fact said, yeah, probably shouldn't have played him. So yes, he's not. I don't think he's the card you want to play in every single deck that runs white.
No.
And a lot of people are starting to fess up to that too. They're thinking, oh, we just jammed him for the sake of it, but it didn't really work out. In this deck, though, I could see it.
Yep. So I think that's. I don't know. I don't have much more to say about Michael's deck.
Yeah, I'm looking through here. 8 cards. 8 cards from the new set, 4 of which are lands, 4 of which are Gideon.
Yep.
So, hooray! In third place, we've got Esper Dragons. I think we all knew that this was going to come back as soon as rotation happened. It lost very few pieces. Pretty good deck, and this is a slightly different build, so we'll run right through it. For creatures, he's got 6 dragons, 4 Dragonlord Ojutai, 2 Silumgar the Drifting Death. He's got 1 Ugin the Spirit Dragon. For lands, he's got, we'll talk new lands, he's got 2 of the new Blighted Fen, which is the one that you sack to make your opponent sacrifice a creature. Pretty good card. Other than that, he's got 2 Prairie Streams and 4 Sunken Hollows, because now the shard colors, Esper, Jund, all those have so much better fixing between the fetches and the new duels.
Correct.
For spells, he's got 2 Complete Disregard, which I'm coming around to this card because I like the exile effect, and I like the fact that it's an instant. We lost Hero's Downfall, and it was replaced with a sorcery speed removal spell, which a lot of people don't like, and a lot of control decks don't really like playing at sorcery speed. So I think this is a pretty decent card. And apparently, if the meta shapes up to your Atarka Red and your Green-White Megamorphless, this is going to be perfect going forward.
Yeah. I mean,
And then-
the Oric's almost the same, just in Eldrazi in place of a Minotaur.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Running through the rest of his spells, he's got 4 Dig Through Time, 3 Foul Tongue Invocation, 2 Horribly Awry, which is the blue and a colorless, counter a creature spell with converted mana cost 4 or less, and it exiles. Then he's got 2 Scatter to the Winds, which is the new Awaken counterspell, 4 Silumgar Scorn, 3 Utter End. I know we had also talked about Utter End being like a premier piece of removal after rotation, and yeah, he's running 3 of them.
Yeah,
Forecasting cost instant removal is what we get now.
Yeah.
Utter End is the new Hero's Downfall.
Yep. And then 2 Crux of Fate, 3 Despise in the main. I like that. And then 1 Languish. I'm kind of surprised he's not running any Jace in the main, but he does have 3 in the sideboard, which for the sideboard he's running 1 Orbs of Warding, 4 Irrational Cleric, 1 Disdainful Stroke, 1 Dispel, 1 Dragonlord's Prerogative, 1 Foul Tongue Invocation, 1 Negate, 3 Jace, 1 Ob Nixilis, 1 more Languish. It's Esper Dragons, just kind of retooled.
Yep. I think the interesting thing with a lot of these new counters and destroy effects is that they exile, which I guess you and I can get into later because you are the king of bringing stuff back from your graveyard, Jason. But I mean, it's a lot bigger of a deal having just played a week of New Standard. I know that exiling means a lot more now than it did. And I'm not even talking about the processor or that whole interaction.
No.
Even enter into it.
Yeah, no, when I was resurrecting Jace Friends Prodigy and Dragon Master Outcasts against him all weekend, it was... I'm sure he wished he had been able to exile them instead of just kill them.
There's complete disregards in my deck now, Jason. Don't worry.
And just so we see... He's running 2 Complete Disregard and 3 Utter End as his removal, all instant speed. So he chose to go with those. He chose to go with a more narrow 3-color removal spell and then just a more expensive removal spell overrunning the new, whatever it is, Ruinous Path.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're kind of split in a control deck now, I think, where you can play stuff that kills creatures with power 3 or less, because we've seen a ton of that. Reef Soul, Complete Disregard, there's a couple others. And then the way it looks like he shaped this one up, he's got Horribly Awry, and then his hard counters to handle anything bigger, and it's just trying to pick the correct answer for the correct spell,
Yep.
And that seems to be the trick. Whereas pre-rotation, you could kind of be a little sloppier with that.
Sure. All right, so I'm really excited about this 4th and 6th place decks. So take us through 4th.
All right, 4th we got Jeskai Black by Adam Varner.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 15 creatures, starting with 4 Hangerback Walker, 1 Butcher of the Horde, 2 Dragon Master.
Wait, hold on. Did you say what the deck list was? Like what the name of the deck is?
Yes, Jeskai Black.
Okay.
So, again, 4 Hangerback Walker, 1 Butcher of the Horde. There's a black spell. 2 Dragon Master Outcast, 4 Mantis Rider, 4 Jace Vryn's Prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
That's already an expensive deck right there.
Yeah.
3 Gideon Ally of Zendikar, 25 lands. He's running 2 Prairie Stream, 2 Smoldering Marsh, and 1 Sunken Hollow as new lands.
Yep.
4 spells. He's got 4 Crackling Doom, 3 Dig Through Time, 1 Dispel, 1 Fiery Impulse, 1 Jeskai Charm, 2 Ojutai's Command,
Yeah.
3 Valorous Stance, 2 Wild Slash. In the board, 3 Irrational Cleric, 1 Disdainful Stroke, 1 Dispel, 1 Negate, 1 more Ojutai's Command, 2 Surge of Righteousness, 3 Radiant Flames, 2 Touch of the Void, and 1 Tragic Arrogance. So, I don't know if you guys saw this on camera or if it made camera at all, but I like the interactions between, obviously, I like how he's slamming 1 Butcher and with the Hangerback Walkers and just controlling the board with all those control spells.
Yeah. I was actually going to say that the 1 Butcher is one of the cards I disagree with in this deck.
Okay.
But I guess with the interaction with the Hangerback Walker is pretty decent.
I guess. I don't know. Is Crackling Doom... I mean, it's obviously good enough if you got the 4th place. Is it really that good right now? I mean, it's a card that was good, can be good, depending on what the meta is.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. This is my thought process. I think a lot of people went into this weekend thinking they were going to see a lot of Esper Dragons, which we did, and they were going to see a lot of people trying to jam Eldrazi.
Okay.
Like trying to cheat Eldrazi into play. And Crackling Doom takes care of both of those style decks. You know, it kills their Ojutai without it having to be tapped. It kills their Solumgar, kills their what the hell? Big Eldrazi guy. Starts with a U.
Ulamog.
I kept wanting to say Ugin, but I know it's not Ugin. Ulamog. Too many U names. So, yeah, I think that was a metagame call. I think it was just what a lot of people were expecting to see. And as we go through these lists, you're going to see a lot of decks that are splashing a 4th color just so they can run Crackling Doom, not just Jeskai.
Yep.
But this deck looks really exciting. I did not see this one on camera, but I saw the other guy, the 6th place guy, and it looks like a lot of fun. Looks right up my alley.
Okay.
And moving on.
How do you guys feel about Radiant Flames?
Oh God, Radiant Flames was incredible. The few times I saw it get played this weekend, it was a blowout. Such a good card against so many decks.
I don't think people thought that it would be run as much as it was.
Yeah.
It just when it got spoiled, of course the first thing everybody said was, well, it's no Anger of the Gods. It's like, well, no, it's not. But in this format, getting your achievement of three colors unlocked isn't that hard, guys. It wasn't that hard pre-format.
No.
Or pre-rotation.
Yeah, no, it's better in this environment because we're dealing with a multicolor environment, and it's easier to cast, and more than likely you're going to be able to cast it for at least 2, more than likely 3 every time.
Yep.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were on the whole Converge. Come on, what is this? Why is Sunburst back?
Yep.
But I think we'll get to that.
Yep. Moving on.
Speaking of Converge, everybody strap yourself in. Pod is back. All right, maybe not.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but close.
So this deck is called 5-Color Bring to Light by Jerry Thompson. So while the title may not be familiar, I'm sure the guy who constructed it and played it certainly is. So it runs 13 creatures. God, this is going to confuse the hell out of anybody who didn't see this deck get played today. So just bear with us. We will explain.
Yes.
1 Clever Impersonator, 1 Gilt Leaf Winnower, 4 Siege Rhino, because it's standard and Siege Rhino is still here, for Jace Vryn's Prodigy because, hey, that's the other really good card in Standard now, so you might as well run that.
Yep.
2 Nissa the Vastwood Seer. I mean, she's pretty good. You might as well just throw her in there.
Mhm.
And 1 Silumgar Drifting Death. He takes care of Hangerback. Got to have one of those.
Yep.
We'll leave the lands to last. Let's switch over to the spells.
Yeah.
20 spells. Well, 4 Abzan Charm, because that's just one of the best spells in Standard right now. So I guess we can put that in this deck.
Yep.
2 Disdainful Stroke. Why not? And, we're putting stuff in the yard, so let's just put 2 Murderous Cut in there, too. Let's throw a Sultai Charm in there, too. And another end, because, that gets rid of anything.
Yep.
I'll skip over this next card. We'll come back to it at the end. 1 Crux of Fate, because, hey, we all need board wipes. And you know what? For those really pesky board wipes we need on turn 4, we'll put a Languish in there, too. Just one, though. Single one of. And for anything that's smaller than that, let's go with 2 Reeve Souls. It's not the greatest piece of removal, but we can put 2 in a slot. And hey, that sorcery speed Hero's Downfall called Ruinous Path? We'll put one of those in there too to take out a Planeswalker. Oh, and because we don't have enough 1-ofs in this deck, we're going to run an Ugin's Insight, which is the new Battle for Zendikar card that says Scry Sorcery, 3 and 2 blue, Scry X, where X is the highest converted mana cost among permanents you control, and draw 3 cards. So basically a sorcery speed, Jace's Ingenuity, maybe with some Scry on the end.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and you know what? Just to tie everything together, let's run 4 Bring to Lights. Okay. So let me read this card, because I didn't, and I thought it was horrible.
Okay. Yeah.
3 green-blue, and it's a sorcery. It has Converge, and it says, search your library for a creature, instant, or sorcery card. So anything but an enchantment, basically, or a planeswalker. With converted mana costs less than or equal to the number of mana spent to cast Bring to Light. So if you spend 4 mana, a green, a blue, and 2 other colors, and and one of that same color, you can get something that costs 4.
Like
if
a Siege Rhino.
Like a Siege Rhino. If you spend 3, well, you could go and get your, what do we got in the sideboard here? Oh, Radiant Flames. We play those in the sideboard. We can get those. Yeah. Hey, we could even spend 2 and just go grab a Jace. We could do the full 5, and we could go get our board wipe, our Crux of Fate. But it gets better. Not only does this thing get it for you, then it says, exile that card, then shuffle your library. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Go get what you want, and then cast it. And you know what? Don't look at the mana cost of the card.
Yeah.
Just close your eyes.
Yeah, I guess the only downfall with that is grabbing another Converge card, because then your Converge cost will be 0. Yeah. But,
right. Yeah. So, lands, he runs 27 lands. So, basics, he's got 2 forests, an island, a plains, a swamp, 3 Bloodstained Mires. So, for the new lands, he's got a Canopy Vista, a Cinder Glade, 2 Lumbering Falls, which is the 3/3 hexproof blue-green manland. Mm-hmm. He's running a Prairie Stream, a Shambling Vent, which is the black and white manland that's 2/3 with lifelink. Because, what the heck? I mean, if we're running one, we might as well run the other one.
Sure.
He's running a Smoldering Marsh, and a Sunken Hollow, just to round out all of the new lands, because we want to play with all the new Battle for Zendikar lands.
And we want to fetch for him.
Yeah, and then he's got various fetching stuff in here, 4 Polluted Deltas, 2 Windswept Heaths, a Wooded Foothills. Okay, so the sideboard, 2 Encase in Ice, 2 Disdainful Stroke, 1 Radiant Purge, 1 Silumgar's Command, which I don't think we've seen a lot of, but Jason's very happy. 1 Anafenza the Foremost, another Silumgar of the Drifting Death. Hey, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we didn't put in this deck? 2 Ob Nixilis Reignited. But they're in the board, so don't worry. We got them. 2 Duress, and then 3 Radiant Flames. Oh my God, where do I start with this deck?
It's like you said at the beginning, it's like a birthing pod deck. It's a toolbox deck that has a lot of 1-ofs, but the fact that you can get a creature, instant, or sorcery is so good. And then you just cast it.
Yeah. And I think, so the deck took 4th place. 5th place. 5th place, 4th place, 4th place, 5th place.
This was 5th, yeah.
Yeah, and it lost to Atarka Red, but it didn't lose by that much.
Yeah.
Jerry got flooded out. I mean, look, you can Monday morning quarterback any coverage game that you want. The point with this deck is my personal opinion, which is based on absolutely very little experience and no expertise whatsoever, is that this deck is going to stick around because I think this deck does two things. This deck does what Abzan Control used to be able to do, and what I mean by that is every day when you went to play Abzan Control at every event, you went, what do I think the meta is going to be? And then there was this little decision tree. I think I'll see a lot of red. If so, run 4 Bile-Blights. I think I'm going to see a lot of control. If so, run more Elspeths, more Heroes Downfalls, and 4 Thoughtseizes. I mean, so what you could do with Abzan Control was basically tune the deck to the meta and then basically tune the board in case you missed anything. This deck lets you tune... I mean, if you look at this deck, I was saying to Jason, the 4 Siege Rhinos, the 4 Jaces, the 4 Bring to Lights, and maybe the 4 Abzan Charms, those are like cards I can't imagine you'd ever want to cut out of this deck.
Yeah, those will always be there.
That leaves you 17 slots. That, depending on what the meta is, maybe we run Radiant Flames in the main. What the heck,
Yeah.
And, with Bring to Light, you've basically got 8 copies of your best card in this deck.
Yeah. And Chad, we got to Bring to Light in our sealed pull for the 2-headed giant, right?
Yeah, we cracked the sealed Bring to Light, and I was like, Jason goes, should we play this card? And I'm like, what? Like, you're playing aggro, I'm playing control. Why would we play this card?
But you were on blue-green, were you not?
I was on Sultai color, so I was on 3. And I think I even splashed a 4th color.
Yeah.
But I looked at this and I was like, this is horrible. Maybe it was horrible in the limited standpoint, but yeah, this coming into a standard meta is going to be really good.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I heard a lot of talk about this card early on during preview season, but nobody was really excited about it. And I think I was kind of like you, Bob, where I read it once, I'm like, I could care less. But the more you think about it...
I read it as spend 5 mana, get a card, put it into your hand. It's a tutor. I went, it's a tutor. And it took one of the guys in my shop yesterday screaming at me in our office saying, you're a moron. How do you not know how good this card is? I'm like, it's a 5-mana tutor. He goes, if you read the card... And of course I said, of course I read the card. And then I proceeded to actually read the card.
Yeah.
And then found out that last line of text, which is really key. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost.
Yeah, and I think this card is probably going to be a staple for the rest of its time in Standard. I could see it being big in EDH.
Yes.
I could see it being a huge casual card forever, very much like Birthing Pod. So keep an eye out on this. And 2 things. First, we saw a lot of these decks this weekend. And the other was Jerry Thompson wrote about this deck earlier in the week on Star City, and he said, this is the deck I'm playing this weekend, and this is what he played.
And
pretty much. There's some minor changes, but it's pretty much.
Yep. In 6th place, we had another Jeskai Black, which was Clay Spickelmeyer. Fairly similar to the other one, but I wanted to first make mention that Clay is 15 years old. I saw him on stream, and I'm like, oh my god, how old is that kid?
Really? That's great.
Yeah, and the guy that won, Brian DeMars, is 32, so we had a nice age diversity. You talk about wanting to see more diversity in Magic. I want to see more age diversity, damn it. I want to see guys my age on coverage. So that's the diversity I want to see.
So most of the time they're just sitting looking at what everybody's doing. They're the judges.
Jason, I mean, look, man, so soon Social Security is going to kick in for you, and you can do this for a living.
I could, but until then, I'm stuck just spectating and podcasting. I want to see more guys like me up there on that stage. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, this Jeskai Black, I would have to get the 2 lists side by side, but I know Clay is running more Ojutai's command, which is always better. He's also running 2 Kolaghan's command in the main, which I can get behind.
He's running 3 Abbots of Carol Keep and a Tassiger, which the other list was not running, and he's running Draconic Roars.
The other list was also not running Soulfire Grandmaster, so that seemed really good in this deck.
Yeah, so actually, there's a pretty significant difference, and he's only running 2 Crackling Doom in the main. He's splashing black essentially for Tassiger and Crackling Doom, and he's barely running either. Oh,
He's
and
running.
Colmacon's command.
He's running a full 12 fetches for that treasure cruise, and when you've got a Soulfire Grandmaster, rebuying a treasure cruise on turn 5, paying 4, paying 1 for the cruise, and delving 7 and rebuying it is
That
just
is nice.
a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and in the sideboard, he's got a Singleton Dragon Master Outcast. I'll go into this a little bit later, but I was playing a full 4 of him in a Jeskai deck this weekend, and oh, he feels so good. So
Card's
we will.
so bad.
He so bad because I killed you with a bunch of dragons. Is that how he's bad?
I don't remember it going that way, but whatever.
Okay. In 7th place, we got another Esper Dragons. Anything majorly different about this?
Let's see.
Jace.
7th.
It's playing It's playing 3 Shambling Bents. So the lifelink manland, black white.
I like that.
It's playing an Anticipate. There you go, Jason.
Still a decent card.
It's a Jason Roscom card.
Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, a lot of what we just talked about. A Singleton, complete disregard, 1 utter end.
It's running 4. Jace is in the main. You said that already.
Yeah. Now he's running 2 Ruinous Path. So maybe that was the difference because this guy only made 7th running 2 Ruinous Path, while his counterpart in 3rd place was running all the instant speed removal.
Yeah. Yep.
Could be the difference. All right. Who are we on next?
We are on 8th, Bradley Carpenter with Abzan Control. So for Den Protector, 1 Gilt Leaf Winnower, 4 Siege Rhino, 3 Nisses, 4 Gideons, 4 Abzan Charm, 2 Ultimate Price, 1 Utter End, 3 Despise, 3 Languish, 4 Ruinous Path. So there's your Ruinous Path. And then 27 lands. He's running a Singleton Canopy Vista and the full 4 Shambling Vent Manlands. In his sideboard, he's got 4 Arishan Clerics, 2 Green Warden of Marasa, and I saw this card come out of his board and do some real serious work.
Really?
Nice.
It was great. 2 Hidden Dragon Slayers, 1 Utter End, 1 Duress, 2 Painful Truths, and 3 Transgress the Mind. So the Painful Truth is the Converge, 2 and a black, and you draw X cards, lose X life, where X is the number of colors, so it's basically a draw 3.
Yeah.
Lose 3 life, and then Transgress the Mind is the Devoid, where target player reveals his or her hand. You choose a card from it with converted mana cost 3 or greater, and exile that card. So it's a replacement Thoughtseize for big stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying this all along, and once again, this is my pre-qualified PhD Magic opinion. I have that on my wall. Without Hero's Downfall and Thoughtseize, I think Abzan Control suffers. I think it suffers hard. And,
Oh, of course. And yeah, this list looks like he took the old Abzan Control list and is like, okay, I'm losing all these cards. What are the closest replacements I can find for each one of these cards and stick them in?
I mean, look, it's still made top 8. I mean, so that just tells you how powerful that color combination is.
Yeah. What do you say, Chad? You played Abzan here and there.
Yeah, and I love the Abzan Control shell. I think this shell can get there. I think the only issue you're having right now is figuring out which Planeswalker is going to hold you there.
Yeah, because you can't just slam Elspeth and just ride her to victory anymore.
Exactly, and that's what Abzan Control did. And Gideon might be where they want to be, but
Gideon is not Elspeth.
Yeah, I think Nixilis might get you the card advantage to gain against your opponent.
It seems to me like if I were going to build an Abzan Control deck, I would want to run those 2 Green Wardens in the main. I mean, so you still have Abzan. This version of Control goes from being a draw-go, where you're waiting to do something on your opponent's turn, kill their creature, draw 2 more cards, to a tap-out on your turn deck, because your Ruinous Paths, your Languishes, all of that stuff is sorcery speed. So that being said, it just seems to me like I want to being able to recur stuff out of my yard becomes so much more important, because I can then pick the correct answer to the problem. So your Den Protectors become more important, and your Green Wardens are just basically 2 more Den Protectors. And I mean, hey, at a 5/4, I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at either. Yeah. And if you're playing Control, you're gonna get to turn 6. Or you should get to turn 6, unless you're playing a Tarka Red, apparently.
Yeah. And that was our top 8. Very unique top 8. Some not surprises in the form of Esper Dragons. I was kind of surprised to see both the Jeskai Blacks and the 5-color bring to light. Not terribly surprised. We saw a mono red essentially win. What do you guys think? Any thoughts just on the top 8 lists themselves?
Yeah, I love that again, we use this diversity word so loosely, and we got an awesome email from one of our listeners, CJ Leach, and thank you for that, about how we're using diversity. Basically, when I look at this and I see almost, what is it? There's 4 decks that are the same, and 2 of them are in the same category. Yeah. So there's 2 Jeskai Black and 2 Esper Dragons. Yep. And I believe the Jeskai Blacks were both very different from each other. Sure. So that was diverse, but being in this color scheme, we're going to see so many more colors. 5-color, I had no idea we were going to see a 5-color deck in the top 8, which is awesome. I mean, on the back of Jerry Thompson, that just shows you that 5-color is very, very viable. And all the other decks are what you would expect. Everybody expected, like Jason said earlier, everybody expected Esper Dragons to come in. This Jeskai Black is essentially just a 4-color good stuff. And Abzan's always going to be there, and Mono Red is always going to be there. It's really cool to see a green-white, because that's on a Selesnya color that we haven't been seeing as much, other than the Mastery of the Unseen deck, and it wasn't even played in the main.
Yeah. And I think another point that he made in his email, which I read the whole email, and it was well done. He criticizes for calling Standard diverse back in the previous season, because even though there were a lot of different deck lists out there, they were all like mid-range strategies. Like Standard was primarily aggro and mid-range with a little bit of control mixed in here and there. And he said that Standard wasn't nearly as diverse as we tried to make it out to be, because it was just almost primarily mid-range at that point.
Here's the thing about that. So if you take a 10,000 foot view of Magic, there are basically, with some exceptions, particularly as you get into Eternal formats, but let's talk about Standard. You get 3 archetypes: aggro, mid-range, and control.
Sure.
Now there's tons of
combo.
derivation. Yeah, and and combo. So those 4. Now there's tons of derivations as you zoom into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes their paths cross even. So to say, well, there's just aggro and control and mid-range. Well, yeah, there's always aggro and control and mid-range. That's kind of how it works. I think everything's relative. So if you look back a year ago, when it was Ravnica and Theros, I mean, we all remember the days of mono blue and mono black. And really, guys, reading those tournament lists would have been boring as hell. No one would have tuned into the show, because it was like 4 mono blue, 3 mono black, and then something else might have popped up. Something might have made it to 7.
I think we have something else to say, and we're done the cast.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so at first place is mono black, blah 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 blah. In second place is mono blue. In third place is mono black. Is he running anything different in this list? Oh yeah, he's running a 4th pack rat. Oh, okay, all right, gotcha. I mean, really, it was just that flat. So compared to that, this is a massively diverse format. Now, in a year from now, are we going to be saying that? I don't know. It's all relative. We might be like, nah, you know what, man? Khan's Tarkir block was just so diverse. There were, nothing is as diverse as that. And it's all relative, guys.
Yeah, and as we mentioned in previous episodes, we're coming off of hiatus from, I think Jason and I just got back as Zendikar. The first Zendikar was rotating out, and so we don't know as much diversity as you guys think. So we're coming on to when Innistrad was released, I believe.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people say, like, oh, the original Ravnica block and whatever block surrounded that was the most diverse Standard. Unfortunately, we weren't playing at that time, so we can't really compare. But, yeah.
Rather saying this is the most diverse, we'll just say this is a diverse format.
Yes.
And, we had a lot more different deck lists going through the top 60, because that's what Star City released this weekend. Going down the list, let's hop 9th to 16th. Who's up next for deck lists? Is it Chet?
I think it's. Did I do the last one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I did
did
Abs and Control. So yeah, Chad.
All right,
So-
we're all messed up. All right, so yeah, next one is Absent Aggro.
Yep.
And so this was by Kyle Niswandit, I think. And he's running 21 creatures, 4 Hangerback Walker, 3 Den Protector, 4 Knight of the White Orchid, 4 Siege Rhino, 1 Warden of the First Tree, 3 Wingmate Rock, 2 Anaphens of the Foremost. I'm kind of speeding through this because it's almost an old Abzan aggro with.
Yeah, very similar.
So this is what Abzan aggro has become so far. For Gideon, ally of Zendikar, this is where Gideon should be, I believe.
Yeah.
25 lands, 1 Canopy Vista as a new one, and 4 Shambling Vents. So Gideon's ultimate also helps that lifelink, which is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
10 spells, 4 Abzane Charm, 3 Jamoka's Command, 1 Murderous Cup, 1 Valor Stance, and 1 Reef Soul. I really like Reef Soul where it's at the moment.
It's not a bad one of or two of.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I still like the other one better.
The Exile
The Exile, yeah.
for 3. Because it is instant, so that's true. In the board, 3 Ration Cleric as usual because red will always be there. 2 Evolutionary Leap, 2 Utter End, 1 Valorous Stance, 1 more, 2 Despise, 3 Duress because Thoughtseize is gone, and 2 more Reef Souls.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is Abzan aggro right now.
Yeah, this is very similar to what I was saying with the Abzan Control, where it's like, okay, here's the old Abzan aggro. What can we replace the cards that are rotating out with? And this is kind of what you get.
True.
Though I would have liked to see at least 1 or 2 Sorens over a full 4 Gideons, maybe 2 Soren, 2 Gideon split.
I have to tell you, that card has never performed for me. Ever.
Really? Even with the life gain. Thank you. Even with the life gain.
Well, you've got Shambling Vents in this deck, and they get you your incidental life gain along with Siege Rhinos.
Yeah.
I mean, Dramoka's commanding something off a Shambling Vent and then attacking in. It's like 6 life in a turn.
Okay, fair enough. And, you know, they're still trying to work out the list. This is just week 1. Moving on, we had a Jeskai aggro in 10th, which this looks 100% the same. The only card worth noting is a Singleton Brutal Explosion, which, if you don't know, it's the 2 blue and a red instant. It's got Devoid, and then you choose 1 or both. Return target spell or creature to its owner's hand, which is kind of a... that's something we haven't seen in Standard in a long time. The fact that you can return a spell as they're casting it to the owner's hand.
Yeah.
And then the other option is Brutal Explosion deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that permanent would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So, really unique card. It stinks that it's at the 4 cost, but I think we might be seeing more of this going forward.
Possibly.
Let's see. I mean, there's a lot of one-ofs in here. I don't know if there's anything really... You know, there's like a 5-color Eldrazi and 5-color control deck, but those are just kind of one-ofs. I don't know if there's anything... There's a Hardened Scales deck in here. Dom Perrin would be very happy.
Oh, yeah. And I also kind of wanted to just take a quick look at the red-black aggro.
Yeah, sure. So that one, it was in 11th place by Steven Dickman, and it runs an Ash Cloud Phoenix, 4 Bloodsoaked Champions, 3 Flamewake Phoenix, 4 Forerunner of Slaughter. That's the... Devoid, black-red, 3/2, and you spend 1 colorless, and the colorless creature gets haste till the end of turn.
Yep.
4 McKindy Slide Runner, which we talked about. 4 Thunderbreak Regents. 2 Draina, Liberator of Malakir. So that's the 1 and 2 black, flying, first strike, 2/3, legendary creature, vampire ally, just in case.
Yep.
Whenever she attacks and deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on each attacking creature you control. And so this is an interesting interaction because with the first strike, technically she hits first.
Yes.
So she only deals 2 damage the first time she hits. Then she gets her counter. Everything else gets the counter. And then everything else swings in. So all your other stuff gets a counter for the first time she attacks. Just not her.
Yeah, it makes combat math crazy. And I think this type of a deck is absolutely perfect for a card like her.
What deck are we on right now?
This is the red-black aggro, 11th place.
And then there's 2 Kolaghan's Command, or 2 Kolaghan Storm Fury, 3 Zergo Bellstriker, 4 Draconic Roar, 2 Murder Slash, 2 Wild Slash, and 25 lands of the black-red variety. He's playing 3 Smoldering Marshes from the new set. Sideboard's got a Scab Clan Berserker, 2 of them, 2 Outpost Sieges, Virulent Plague, which 3 outposts. A Virulent Plague, which is for, I believe, for Gideon.
Yeah.
Gets rid of those pesky tokens he makes.
Just like Elspeth kills Gideon tokens.
Yep. Twin Bolt, 1 Twin Bolt. And that's the 1 in the red, 2 damage divided as you choose. It's an expensive fork bolt, basically.
Yeah.
1 Wild Slash. 1 Alesha who smiles at death. That's interesting.
Yeah, and I think he's good in this deck. I think he. I'm honestly surprised they don't put like maybe 1 or 2 of him in the main, but oh well.
Mm-hmm. 2 Arc Lightning and 4 self-inflicted wounds for that pesky Siege Rhino.
Yeah. So yeah, I like this deck. This is kind of my style when it comes to aggro. I really like it, and it's not just like go all in aggro. You've got some more in game with the Thunderbreak Regent and the Draina.
Yep.
So yeah, this seems really solid.
Mm-hmm.
And it made 11th, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. Not bad at all.
Chad, anything you see in the top 16 you want to cover?
How about no, not top 16.
Okay, what are you looking at next?
I'm looking at 22nd.
Okay, what do you got?
Robert Vaughn.
Hey, listener of the show, Robert Vaughn.
Yeah, he's a local.
Yep. He's showing up a lot, actually. He's
Yeah.
running 5-color control. So let's run through this list really quick.
Okay.
14 creatures, 4 Den Protector, 4 Siege Rhino, 4 Jace Rune's Prodigy, as per normal,
Yep.
1 Nissa Vastwood Seer, and 1 Solemgar the Drifting Death. In Planeswalkers, running 2 Ob Nixilis Reignited, 27 lands. We can go over that, but I think everybody's got the idea when we ran through Jerry Thompson's list.
Yeah, it's five
pretty
colors.
much.
He's got a lot of one-ofs, a lot of... Yeah.
Just get those fetch lands and get everything else you need.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so spells: 4 Abzan Charm, 3 Dig Through Time, 1 Solemgar's Command, 1 Utter End, 2 Languish, 3 Reef Soul, and 3 Ruinous Path. So this deck seems pretty straightforward.
I like it. I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems to be the deck that just play the game and you win. Because, I mean... Nixilis being there is an interesting inclusion. And this isn't taking advantage of Bring to Light, so...
No. And it's weird, too, because looking at it kind of on the surface, he doesn't have any real quote-unquote finishers. I mean, Ob Nixilis is a good card, but I would not count on 2 Ob Nixilis as just strictly being your finisher in this list.
It's just one of the...
Even then, like, if that's the case, if Ob Nixilis or Jace are your finishers, you're looking to really grind the hell out of this game.
Yeah, this is... You have to have control, but it's got the 14 creatures, so it's a really interesting path that he's going.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's running a Solemgar's Command in the main. And this is not the first time we've seen this today, so maybe Solemgar's Command's going to start picking up steam as a 1 or 2 of index.
You're reaching with your 60 copies.
Oh, I've got no. That's Ojutai's Command. I've got well more than 60 copies of Solemgar's Command.
Right.
So
sideboard: 3 Ration Cleric, 1 Virulent Plague. Remember, this also gets the Hangerback Walker tokens after you take care of it.
Very true.
2 Disdainful Stroke, 1 Dragon Lord Jamoka. I like that addition. 1 Ugin the Spirit Dragon, 3 Duress, 2 Exert Influence. We'll go over that in 1 second. And 2 Radiant Flames. So this is where Converge comes in after the sideboard. He is on 5 colors, and it looked like more of a 4-color deck from going over everything.
Yeah.
But Exert Influence is 4 and blue, a sorcery speed rare. Converge, gain control of target creature if its power is less than or equal to the number of colors mana spent to cast Exert Influence.
And that's
I'm saying that
permanent.
Right, correct?
Exert Influence. Yeah, and that's permanent. Yeah, that's once you take control of that card, it is yours until it leaves the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and as we're reading through the chat, Rob actually said he doesn't play Tri-lands in his deck.
Oh, okay.
So that's
Fair
pretty
enough.
interesting.
Yeah, which makes sense because I
With all the
There's no reason to, really.
Yeah, I mean, between the 5 fetch lands and the 5 dual lands that you can fetch, yeah, I don't see why you would need to play the tri-lands.
And Siege Rhino is his win con.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Well, I mean, look, Abzan Control used it as win con if you couldn't get to Elspeth. And it gets there. Just So, I got one.
Okay.
Because we haven't seen any giant frigging ramp decks yet with all the Eldrazi that came out in this set. And you'd expect that it's going to... I mean, you've got 2 weeks until the Pro Tour. One would think somebody's going to take a shot at it.
Yeah, you would think.
So in 39th place is
39.
green-white Eldrazi, which may be a progenitor and gives some people an idea of what you might look at for a deck like that. So it's got 4 Hangerback Walkers, 1 Bane of Balaged, so that's the 7/5 for 7 that whenever it attacks, it exiles 2 permanents.
Yeah, so
Not Annihilator.
Yeah, we won't bring back Annihilator ever. Okay, well that's true. You didn't.
They didn't, Jason. They
We're
didn't.
not using that word. Don't say
We've
that.
been episode 40. We've been over this.
Yes. Carry on.
Then he has 2 Conduit of Ruin, which is a 6 casting cost 5/5 Eldrazi, and when you cast it, you search your library for a colorless creature with converted mana cost 7 or greater, reveal it, put it on top of your library, and the first creature spell you cast each turn is 2 less to cast. So it's a tutor, and it's also a ramper.
Yep.
3 Oblivion Sower. That's the 6 casting cost 5/8 Eldrazi. That when you cast it, your target opponent exiles the top 4 cards of his library, and you put any number of land cards they own from exile onto the battlefield, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a ramper. 1 Rune Processor, so that's the 7-drop 7/8, who when you cast him, you pull a card out of exile. They call that processing. And if you do, you gain 5 life. 2 Nissa. 3 Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. Don't need to go over that guy.
Yeah.
4 Hedron Archives. So
I like this card.
There's
Like,
some of your ramp.
when this card was spoiled, a lot of people were like, "Oh, it's nothing like the 1/2 drop."
Mindstone, yeah.
Mindstone. Oh, it's no Mindstone. I want Mindstone. This card sucks. I like Hedron Archive.
You've got 2 From Beyond, so that's a 3 and a green devoid at the beginning. It's Better Blossom. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token onto the battlefield. We all know what they do. And then for 1 green, you sacrifice From Beyond and search your library for an Eldrazi card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your library.
Yeah, I'm really big on this
Jason was
card
big
also.
on this card every time he pulled one.
So 3 Quarantine Fields. That's the 2 white, 2X enchantment that when it comes down, it has X isolation counters on it, and for each isolation counter, you exile 1 land permanent.
Mm-hmm.
4 Silk Wraps, 3 Stasis Snare, so that's the new instant speed Banishing Light for creatures.
Yeah, which I really like, by the way.
Yeah. 2 Nissa's Renewal, so that's 5 and a green. Search your library for 3 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then gain 7 life. Sideboard's Arishan Cleric, because aggro. 3 Den Protector. 1 Gaia's Revenge, so that's spicy.
That's
One
spicy.
1 Erase. 2 Surge of Righteousness, a card that doesn't see a lot of play, but I don't know why. I guess because Self-Inflicted Wounds gets the job.
Well,
One of her rhinos.
Yeah.
I have a feeling going forward we're going to see a lot more of these.
Yes. So 2 Dragon Lord Dramoka, 1 Gideon in the sideboard, 1 Ugin, and 1 Planar Outburst, which is the destroy all non-land creatures with Awaken 4.
Yep.
I am a little surprised we haven't seen more of this.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just not working out in this real aggro-heavy format. But I like the list. I think it looks fun. Trying to jam Ulamog is always a good thing.
So his lands, this is actually important. He runs Canopy Vistas. He's also running the 4 Sanctum of Ugin. So that's the 1 colorless, and when you cast a colorless spell with us that's 7 or greater, you sacrifice Sanctum and search for a colorless creature card. So a lot of tutoring going on in this deck, just incidental tutoring, you know. And then he's playing 3 Shrine of the Forsaken God, which is the add 1 to your mana pool and add 2 to your mana pool to cast colorless spells if you control 7 or more lands, which, pro tip, Shrine of the Forsaken Gods counts towards those 7 lands. So if it's your 7th land, you get your 2.
Nice.
And it runs a Spawning Bed, which is the sack land that gets you 3 Eldrazi Scions if you spend 6.
So, Bob, you want to go a little over how the processing works with Stasis Snare or Silk Wrap?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, that interaction.
This is a deck idea I've had that I'm sure is not original, and there's probably 100 other people. But so processing basically says I take a card from my opponent. I take one of my opponent's cards from exile and I put it into his graveyard. It doesn't care how it got to exile, and so because it doesn't care how it got to exile, that means all of the white removal, basically, more or less, although there's some black too, helps you get your